The floor is yours. You're welcome.
Good morning, Artem and the Honourable Mayor of the City of Mykolaiv. Thank you so much for inviting me to speak with you here this morning. It's really terrific. And greetings from Sydney in Australia. I'd like to begin by just spinning off from what Dennis and Artem were saying about developing the strategic economy, the single EU economy, as you sort of move towards that. Very interestingly, as I wrote in one of my books, it's smart cities that define national competitive advantage. And we need to think about how Mykolaiv, with its abundant expertise across the Maritime, is going to help define the Ukraine's competitive advantage moving forward. So as I start, let me please share my screen for my presentation. And I hope that that is working. Can someone just indicate that it's working? Can someone indicate? Yes. Can people see the screen? Ah, fantastic. Thank you so much. Look, today I am going to talk about how we translate cluster theories and those ideas into commercial results, and how we transform industrial ecosystems like the one found in the maritime industrial ecosystems into high trust, open innovation systems that drive investment and business collaboration. And this is really important because when we think about shipbuilding, aerospace, they are an advanced economy's foundational industries. We only need to look at Germany. Shipbuilding, naval defense, submarines, automotive, Mercedes, BMW, you know the gist. And of course, the expertise it has in aerospace with Airbus. So these are such critical foundational industries for any advanced economy. And today I'm going to take you on a little bit of a sailing trip. We're going to sail around to Sweden. We're going to come back via the Ukraine, and we're going to take you back to Denmark, because this is an explanation, a part of my journey with my work of transforming industrial ecosystems into companies that can collaborate to develop new products and services. I have a lot to cover. I always do. I talk too much, but I'm very proud of this work we did in Sweden. Here we have the front cover of the book, Constructing Swedish Sovereignty, that was commissioned by the Regional Banking Association in Sweden. Why did the Regional Banking Association commission the book? It was because we took the bioeconomy ecosystem, did the analysis, and translated that into very powerful, dynamic industrial collaborations between SMEs to create the world's first certified carbon neutral house and a number of very other interesting collaborations. And the region then went on with the companies, and we launched that book at the Swedish Parliament in October last year. That symbolically is very important because it shows how the industrial heartland of Sweden is so important in driving innovation in the areas of sustainability and developing new innovations in that space. And there's a lot of background analysis to this work. Excuse me, I just have a cough. We use the industrial ecosystem mapping intelligence of doing the analysis of this ecosystem to intentionally accelerate collaboration between small to medium-sized enterprises in order to spin off new products and services by those companies working together to support them to diversify new markets, which is going to be critical to Ukraine as it rebuilds. Winning new contracts, which will be very important because we know in the process of reconstruction, there'll be many companies from around the world in Ukraine also vying for those projects. And here's an example, another example of our work from Sweden. This is a new surface treatment plant, the result of a collaboration between a sawmill and a building and construction company. So let me show you a little bit of a map. This is the bioeconomy map. This is a simple map. It shows from forestry right through to building and construction. This is important because quite often, if it's the steel industry or the automotive industry, we just show those component parts. But here we need to understand the whole picture in order to make the most of the picture, in order to create connections across the dynamics of those industrial sectors. So here we have it, a strategic collaboration that developed between the sawmill and a building construction company. That took me some time to get these companies working together, but they already had a relationship together. And then they tied into old forests for the sawmills and environmental circular economy experts to advise them on the sawmill, digital software development to integrate the systems between these two companies. And so what we had is a very exciting investment here. We had the collaboration driving the integration of Industry 4.0 and circular economy. This is what happens when you work across the whole ecosystem and you put that energy to work in a really constructive way, which takes us to the blue economy. Jumping now into the Ukraine, jumping into Mykolaiv. And this is very interesting because here we have the European Commission. They're already lining up the investors. They're lining up investors from aquaculture to offshore renewable energy, and of course the ports and all of the other sectors that will go with this sector, including water management. Here we can see billions of dollars worth of investment just in this picture. But where does that leave Mykolaiv? I think it's very interesting because what we have here is a very strong history, tradition, engineering and manufacturing, building and construction. These are the elements that are going to put the Mykolaiv economy to work. They will help support Ukrainian reconstruction. And the big challenge here is to put to work local capacities, regional capacities and capabilities to underscore Ukraine's long-term economic sovereignty and to support those medium-sized and large Ukrainian companies to get a slice of the action. And so let's dive in here. Let's have a look at Mykolaiv's maritime and shipping cluster. Of course, we know these are the central elements at the moment. They're well documented. Shipbuilding, equipment suppliers, aquaculture, maritime services, and of course, we know the future drivers around renewable energy and the many billions of euros in offshore wind energy that is being targeted for the Black Sea. But to make sense of this, we need to go into the nitty-gritty. We need to go into the detail because the devil is always in the detail. So let's take a look. Here are all of the drivers and the dynamics of the maritime shipping cluster and these sectors. What do we have here? This is an old-fashioned English Australian trade. Shipwrights, those who build ships. And we go all the way down, naval architects, electronics design, original equipment manufacturers, marine, and then logistics, heavy engineering, steel, maintenance production, maintenance marine, painting, galvanizing, powder coating. This is the dynamic. And when we understand the component parts, this is how we can bring them together at a time of war when production labor is fragmented to put those latent capabilities together. And across the other side of the maritime services, we have banking, finance, insurance, legal, port companies, stockbrokers, you know, the shipbrokers. And the future of offshore energy and infrastructure and vessels that will be required to service those industries, and of course cold storage, etc., as we move into aquaculture. This is a big dynamic. When we understand the dynamic, we can put that dynamic to work. And the great thing about the shipbuilding industry is look at these sectors: heavy engineering, fabrication, welding, cutting, drilling, powder coating, engineering services, electrical services, mechatronics, automation systems, integrations for crane, logistics, storage. There is so much here that puts the whole economy to work, not just the maritime cluster to work. And so when we think about the maritime shipping cluster in this sense, all of a sudden we are bridging different sectors. And as we bridge different sectors, we create even greater opportunities for those companies during reconstruction and right now in the current moment. And as they also tie into merchant banking, insurance, whether that's in London or port companies in Copenhagen or other big port cities. So let's do a deep dive now. Let's break this down even further, because the more we understand the detail, the more we can reconfigure opportunity. Here are the sectoral industrial synergies. These will drive future urban and industrial regeneration, shipbuilding, heavy engineering, defense, repairs, manufacturing, education, training, container freight handling, grain handling, those industries of the future as we move forward that have already been targeted through some fantastic portfolio integration work that's been led through the City of Mykolaiv with the UN DP Innovation Unit and the Danish colleagues. Leisure tourism, building construction, renewable energy. President Zelensky talking about the grain corridor, defense and engineering. These are all big ticket items. And of course, automation and robotics, so important for each of these, from shipbuilding right through to container freights, terminals. As we break these down, we can see onshore, offshore, long-term wind energy, tidal energy, the shipbuilding capabilities, port services. They help put to work each of these: building construction for urban industrial renewal, aquaculture, leisure tourism, the blue and green economy. And once again, as we look at these elements that drive the general economy, they also drive the blue economy. Urban regeneration, green regeneration, blue regeneration are on the back of this industrial integration across sectors, which then enables each of these other sectors to be a part of the solution. Film, video, animation, gaming, that was so important that Bjarke was talking about in Denmark's expertise in maritime drones for naval defense. These are also important. And then as we look through the redevelopment events, hospitality, each of these have to be built. And each of these companies that do heavy engineering that relate to building and construction and shipping means that they can get more work more quickly and hopefully more work for more Ukrainian companies. So what we hope to do with the companies, with Artem, is to be able to support his members to activate new business opportunities for local and Ukrainian companies, accelerate collaboration between local, Mykolaiv and Ukrainian companies, even link those to some of our Danish friends. The principal aim of a blue economy ecosystem that we're working on is to bring together, to integrate, to combine the capacities and capabilities of existing companies so they can fill gaps in the value chain. That's really important. It's by working together they can do this, to undertake projects they cannot do on their own. They might have production missing. Some that might have been destroyed. They don't have the labor. By working together, they can develop turnkey solutions. And by doing this, build sovereign Ukrainian design, manufacturing, and digital capacities and capabilities to support industrial and business diversification, defense, post-war reconstruction, and long-term, and reduce the long-term reliance on imported goods and services that are a drag on government revenue and ultimately on the national economy. And so over the coming months with Artem and his team, we will work to help train the cluster managers and CEOs of those companies in the winning collaboration process of how to do this, how to make it happen, how to do this through an intentional collaboration process to be able to support them to win contracts. And this process is anchored in the work we've done in Denmark and in Sweden. So those significant collaborations came out of our winning collaboration process. That's just a lift out of the guide that the companies will be receiving that I'm working on with our team at the UN DP in Mykolaiv. Excuse me. And I will just finish with an example from the work I did in the port of Aalborg in Denmark, where we did a offshore and renewable energy and wind cluster. The result of working together and bringing together different capabilities of companies, here we created the Danish offshore cluster. This was a joint venture between 4 Danish intelligent engineering and electronics companies to deliver turnkey solutions. They won offshore energy projects in Norway and worked together very successfully for a number of years when they then went their own ways. But what they did was they consolidated the capacities, they helped to build local jobs, they helped to drive local investment. And here's the crunch. This is really important. The project was based in Aalborg, but we know from value chains, they extend out. So we have to find out where the dynamics of inter- and inter-regional industrial systems begin and end. When we know that, we can then develop those connections and put those companies to work collaboratively. So the anchor company for this big project that was launched by the European Union Climate Commissioner was not actually in Aalborg, it was in Skagen. That's really important because we'll find companies in Mykolaiv and the lead companies may in fact be in Kyiv. This is how we're going to build Ukrainian capability on the back of the dynamics of the Mykolaiv economy. And I really hope that we get a chance to take this to Parliament, show what an amazing city it is, what an amazing maritime cluster it is. And as we say in our group, never doubt a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. So, my good friends, thank you so much. And I wish you all the very best for the Maritime Day. And Godspeed to Mykolaiv and Ukraine.